Good evening. West Midlands Police say a serious case review has been commissioned after a pensioner was detained indefinitely following the discovery of an arsenal of firearms and explosives at his home. Harry Street had amassed a makeshift bomb, 6 guns and homemade bullets while waging a 6-year campaign of harassment against his neighbours in the Hall Green area of Birmingham. Extensive checks revealed Harry Street was in fact Barry Williams, who had served 16 years for killing 5 people in West Bromwich and Nuneaton in 1978. Victoria Davis reports now on the impact of his crimes.
It was October the 26th, 1978, when Barry Williams became increasingly annoyed by the noise of his neighbours. George and his son Philip were working on their Spitfire car at their home in West Bromwich. But that evening, Williams snapped. He armed himself with 2 handguns and opened fire, killing them both. Next to die was Philip's mum Iris, who tried to escape but was shot through the heart. The couple's teenage daughter Jill was shot 6 times, but miraculously survived. Another neighbour who had opened her front door to see what was happening was also shot, but also survived. Williams then took police on a high-speed chase across the Midlands while shooting at passers-by, including children. His next 2 victims were a couple who ran this petrol station in Nuneaton. Williams was finally arrested the next day in Buxton in Derbyshire. He was sent to Broadmoor Secure Hospital after admitting manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Psychiatrists at the time said he was suffering from paranoid psychosis. He was released 15 years later in 1994. It was only when Harry Street was arrested last year for harassing his neighbour that police realised the 70-year-old had changed his name and was in fact Barry Williams. The mass killer had returned to the Midlands and set up home in Hall Green in Birmingham, but over time had developed another neighbour dispute and was found to have amassed an arsenal of weapons including guns, homemade bullets and a homemade bomb. By the time the pensioner was arrested, it was just days away from the 35th anniversary of when he turned a residential road into a bloodbath. Victoria Davis, ITV News.
There are growing concerns for a missing 86-year-old man who hasn't been seen since he left his home in Small Heath early this morning. Pinu Khan left his house on Haybarns Road at around 8:30 a.m. He was on his way to a local bank but failed to arrive, and he hasn't returned home. A campaign's underway at Birmingham Children's Hospital to give vaccinations to those most at risk of flu. 86% of staff were inoculated in last year's campaign, and they're aiming for an even higher percentage this time. All staff are encouraged to get vaccinated to keep flu out of the hospital.
It's really important that all staff have the vaccine, because if they don't, that runs the risk of children developing the flu from staff who could have brought it from outside, and then this poses a problem to all the children here who are very, very vulnerable.
Now, despite having only 2 MPs in the whole of the West Midlands, the Liberal Democrat leader, Nick Clegg, is insisting he remains optimistic about the party's prospects in 2015. He told delegates at their annual conference in Glasgow the election fight will be their toughest yet. Our political correspondent, Alison Mackenzie, reports.
We would spend less than Labour. We would cut less than the Tories. That's the message the Lib Dems want the West Midlands to hear from their conference in Glasgow. There are fewer delegates this time. The party took a battering in the local and the Euro elections. They're low too in the opinion polls. So I put it to Mr Clegg, with only 2 MPs at the moment and the chance of going down to 0 here, it's not looking good for the general election.
You don't know. The vote hasn't happened yet. I'm constantly fascinated by people who invite me to become a soothsayer. I don't have a crystal ball, neither do you. I hear about all these predictions about polls going up and down. You know what? Polls go up and down. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people probably haven't even focused on the choice which is ahead of them at the general election. Might not do so until pretty late in the day in the spring of next year.
One of the 2 MPs is John Hemming. Relaxing in the conference hotel, but aware of the challenge.
Why is it still relevant to vote Lib Dem in 2015, given that you can't actually be the main party, only prop up another.
Well, obviously we can be the main party, but at the end of the day, we don't have to go into coalition. We can vote on the issues in Parliament. There's no question about that. We're not required to go into coalition. And if you want somebody who wants the maths to add up, unlike the Labour Party, but to look after poorer, hard-working, low-paid people, unlike the Conservative Party, then vote Lib Dem.
It's also the party that broke its promise on tuition fees and backed the bedroom tax. But Nick Clegg insists Lib Dems matter.
We're not going to repeat the mistakes of Labour. We're not going to borrow as much as them. We're not going to do what George Osborne wants, which is cut, only at the expense of the poor. We want a strong economy, a fair society, where opportunity is spread for everyone across the Midlands.
His keynote speech is on Wednesday, looking to a future where, as he admits, Liberal Democrats will face the fight of their lives. Alison Mackenzie, ITV News, Glasgow.
A local water company has started processing human waste into natural gas and piping it into the network. It's the first time the technology has been used to supply gas in this quantity to the national grid. And it's been made possible by a process that washes the carbon out of the biogas generated when the waste breaks down. It's thought enough gas could be produced to power 4,000 homes, as Callum Watkinson reports.
From effluent to energy. An £8 million project just launched at Minworth Sewage Works is turning the muck flushed away by more than 2 million of us into gas flowing in to the national grid.
The gas that we produce here is almost identical to the gas that comes out of the North Sea. We have to meet very strict criteria from National Grid that allows us to inject it into the network. Our gas is about 98–99% methane. Whereas other gases in the grid might be slightly different, but ultimately the end customer will see no difference.
They say they can produce enough gas for more than 4,000 homes, saving them £1.7 million on their own bill, which helps them keep water bills down. These 16 anaerobic digesters work a bit like a cow's stomach. They break down the waste and they give off biogas, which is about 60% methane. That's then washed in these metal towers over here to remove the carbon dioxide, and it's compressed over there and injected way over there by the road into the national grid. They're constantly monitoring the quality of the gas. If it falls too low, they close the valve and the excess has to be burned in that flare stack over there. With some high-profile supporters, this technology has been around for a while. A similar plant in Dorset was opened 2 years ago. But this is the first time it's been done on this scale in our region, and local environmentalists think it's about time.
We shouldn't be pleased with ourselves that it's taken so much longer for us to do it in this country than Sweden and Germany, for instance, on the continent, and even America have been doing it for a while. But it's certainly something that was really needed and will do wonders for our carbon footprint.
A government subsidy makes this affordable for Severn Trent. The renewable heat incentive aims to cut greenhouse gas by 80% by 2050. A product everyone needs, made from a raw material nobody wants, with government backing the technology. A sweet-smelling deal that it's hoped will attract other water companies and investors. Callum Watkinson, ITV News, Minworth.
A quick reminder now, the agenda is up next on ITV, and with the details, here's Tom Bradby.
Tonight on the agenda, we have the Shadow Chancellor Ed Balls, former Dragon James Caan, the Sun columnist Jane Moore and comedian Katie Brand. And we'll be talking about... What are we talking about? OK, that's a joke. We'll be talking about forgetfulness. We'll be talking about the economy and France. Is it in terminal decline? Well, of course it is, but we'll be talking about that and the jokes will be better. See you in a minute.
Now let's get the weather forecast. With the details, here's Manali Luca.
Hello again, good evening to you. It has been quite a miserable start to the new working week, a wet, windy and cool day. And if we look ahead at the forecast through the overnight period, you can see today's rain now across into the North Sea. Behind it, drier, clearer conditions, although out towards the west, we're starting to see some showers develop. And these will become a bit more of a feature for us through the overnight period and into tomorrow. So if we have a look at that in detail, you can see it's a largely dry night with some light winds and with clear spells. We could well see some pockets of mist and fog patches form. Towards the end of the night, we'll also start to see some showers push up from the south and west, and that sets the scene for Tuesday morning. Quite a murky start to the day, mist and fog to start off with, and some showery outbreaks of rain too. Some heavy downpours can't be ruled out. Through the course of the day, though, things slowly start to improve, turning drier and brighter.
And that's almost it from us. There are updates and further details on our stories online. Just go to itv.com/central. We're back tomorrow morning within Good Morning Britain, and of course we're back at 6 tomorrow evening. For now though, from the late team, good night.